All right, this is how I tie a black leech. There might be another name for this. People, I think that when I put it up picture up online like a year ago, people told me there's a name to it. So if you know the name, drop it in the comments, or I will figure it out and put it in there. Um, I'm going to make the body with red here. You can make these bodies differently. You can. I sometimes use green tinsel. Uh, Purple is really good if you're going deep water. Dark deep water, purple is going to be the thing that fish see the most. So yeah, you can kind of throw different stuff on the hooks. I put all different green color in there, whatever. The red seems to work the most, I'd say, the black. So I'm going to use that for this demonstration. So I'm going to use I got a size 14 jig hook in here. I'm using a 3.8 millimeter matte black tungsten bead, which is really big, right? But you'll see on this fly, it just works. That's what you want. You want a bigger bead head up there to get it down, especially too. Um, so I'm going to be using a 3-weight uni thread here, which is really thick, but I'm going to use that for the body because I don't mind it to have some texture. That's what I want. And then I'm going to cover it with UV resin. And then I'm just using like I think it's pretty much like a 6-weight black thread here, either 6 or 8-weight here. And then UV resin, pine squirrel zonkers is what I use. And then I use ostrich plumes, black ones right there. So, I didn't show that for long, sorry. I'll show it again as I'm going through the video. So I don't see the bead on this here, but I'm just going to get the thread going on it. And let's get this going here. Again, like I said, I'm not seeing the bead on this because I'm going to be putting a bunch of resin on there. And I need that head area up there for, I'm going to clip off my string now. I need that head area up here. I'm actually twisting the bead too. The tungsten's coming. You can twist them so they sit. So it's sitting up off the jig there. I wanted to do that. So you want to try to have that open part going like that, if you can see that there. So now I'm making what I would call like the underbody of the fly. I'm going to go down just enough so it's got a little bit of a curve to it. I just want it to have like enough to be so the fish see just a little bit of a curve. And then I'm not going to go any really thicker down there. And then I'm going to start building up here. I'm not building up a carrot. I'm trying to keep this all really even. Even wraps all the way up to the head here. Again, I'm not really seeding that bead in there because I'm going to put so much stuff in there that it's going to get seeded. So you don't have to be super fancy on this wrap in here because, like I said, we're going to cover it with UV resin. And it looks better if it's got a little bit of like ribbing to it almost. So that's why I'm using this thick thread, is because it gives ribbing to it kind of automatically. And you don't have to make the inside really that thick. That's about as thick as I'll go right there. And then I'm going to whip finish that. One, two. That's it. Like I said, I don't want to build it up too crazy there. I just want the string to hold. Because once we cover it in UV resin, it's not going anywhere. So I'm going to take my trusty toothpick. That's how I always apply the UV resin to things. I used this one yesterday, so it's got some UV on it. So I'm going to coat the heck out of this thing with UV resin. That's the whole point. I want this part to stay tough, 1, and 2. I just want that extra shine that it's going to give me by having the UV resin on it. So let's get some UV on there with the toothpick. And as you can see, it already just starts to brighten right up. See how much brighter it gets? So it's going to look like that in the water anyways, I guess, when it gets wet. But I like to have this nice coating on it. Make sure you get on the underside here. And once I get a basic coat on there like that, make sure it's all nice and uniform. I'm going to hit that with the UV light for a couple seconds. I don't know how many seconds you're supposed to do it, 10 seconds or something. I'm not too sure what it is. I usually just leave all my flies in the sun after, and then they definitely get hard within a couple minutes or whatever. And this is like, again, this light was like $10, I think, at like a craft store. This UV resin that I use here, it's called like Resin Craft Creation Resin, hard type Durate. They don't even say cure, it says Dur. I don't know, but I've been using this stuff for a couple of years, this bottle here, a year or two, I guess. That's all I've been tying for about a year or so. So nonetheless, I'm gonna put some more resin on there because it obviously looks dry. Yeah, it's dry. So let's put one more little dab in there. And this will definitely thicken it up. You probably don't have to do this, but I found it to keep the fly together for me and look really cool underwater. Just gives it that extra shine when it hits the water immediately. And I've done good on these. I mean, this is one of the most deadly kind of flies. Oops, we got a little goop there. We don't want that happening. That's too much UV resin. So I'm gonna try to wipe that off. I was using part of my stick here to get some of that off. There we go. We don't want it that thick. Or we don't want it dripping. It's okay if it's thick, we just don't want it dripping. So now you can see that bead seating in there. That resin just sitting it in there anyways. If you can see the top there, see how I have it? The top of the beads like that, that's what's keeping it up on the edge of the hook right now. And I definitely want to make sure I get it kind of cured here because I'm going to start touching it with materials and stuff. And then I just don't want it getting all over my fingers. I'm trying not to put this in the lens of the camera. But I definitely hitting it for a couple of seconds here to definitely make sure that it's on there good. All right, cool. It's not even tacky. That's good. That's what we want. Remember, always put your lid back on, your UV resin, because it really stinks when you walk away and you're like, oh, stuff just all like dried up on me. Almost had that happen a couple of times. So now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put in the zonker strip here, right? You can use these. I don't have anything like where I could see in 2 seconds. I didn't take out ahead of time. But there's ones that you can get from like Fulling Mill. They sell like zonker little strips and stuff. The only thing is that sometimes I gotta hit those with a black magic marker because they got a white back bottom. That's what I don't like. I try to find whenever I'm getting any kind of like zonker strips or anything like that. Like here's a big bag of zonker strips and stuff here, and you can see I've got that white on the bottom of it. I mean, this is all like rabbit fur, which is great for making tons of flies, especially this green and everything. But when you don't want that white underbody like this, I want the black, then it kind of stinks. So that's why I get these thinner zonker strips here, and they come all black and they work great. So I want the hair going this way, so I'm going to check this out on here and put the edge there, and then I don't want to go that far. It's just like a mini jig, right? Like a mini kind of leech. So I kind of picture in my head like, okay, it's gonna come down, I'm gonna clamp it there, and then it's gonna be coming out the back here. How much do I really want it to come out without, you know, being too much but not being too little? And I would say that the best thing to do is to cut it a little bit longer, because you can always cut it shorter after. But I would say like most flies, at least double or do the size of the hook shank to the back there. That's where I'm gonna kind of start with this one. And hopefully that'll be a good enough size. So we'll just cut that off. Really simple. And then I'm going to start my black thread now and get that going on here. And I don't want to go too crazy with it because you kind of see I can hide it up at the front there or up at the top of the head because I got the red in there. I don't want to go too crazy, but that area is going to get all black up there. It could go back over with red if you wanted, I guess, at the end, but I would just say this is all you need to do. So now I got that going. Now I'm just going to tie in my the zonker strip that I just cut, and I'm going to hold down the hair. You could take the hairs off. Now here's a thing that gets debated a lot on this fly. So since it's a jig and it's going to be flipped up over on the backside, a lot of people have been tying it up like this, right? They tie the black onto the fly this way, because when it flips over, then the hairs are going to be flowing that way. But what I've found is that I still do it this way, because when this fly flips over anyways, right, I'm usually getting fish that are looking up at it. I find those are the fish that come up and they nail it. This fly, you think a leech, like you drag it across the rocks and hit it. For some reason, that doesn't always work for me. It seems like they look up at it. So for some reason, and it could be, I don't know what's right or wrong on it. All right, so I say do both ways and, you know, try it out and see what works best for you. So I'm gonna put it in here, bring it all the way up to the top of the bead there, and try to get a little piece of it in there. And then make sure that sits on the top of the fly. It's really important. That's what I'm most concerned about. Alright, so now we got that up on the top of the fly right there. I'm not wrapping back that far on it, just doing enough wraps to hold it on there, right? Look at it and be like, alright, cool. Because now I got to put in the ostrich plumes, right? So I'm going to take some ostrich plumes, black ones here, and then you just grab it. It's like a big thing here. This stuff is great, ostrich plume. It's like tougher than peacock herl and stuff. I really like it. So you just grab it. I use about 3 maybe on these things. I'd say that's about all you need to grab. 3 or 4 there. Actually grab more, but how many do I have here? Got 4, which is going to be too much for this. I'm going to use 3. So we use 3 pieces of ostrich herl there. And then I'm going to cut these tips off they're kind of hard, stiff right there, but I'm going to cut them off so I have a nice clean start right there, right? And then I'm going to put these on the side here and lock them down like that. I'm going to go back once to make sure I got it, and then come back up. And I'm going to leave my bead up here at the, my thread up at the top here, right? Now, I'm going to take this and just hackle it. You can hackle it towards you if you want. And then, you'll see I'm just doing closed spiral loops right up to the front of the fly. And that's all you need, is about that much herl in there. And then we'll go 1, 2, 3. Make sure to lift up on this a little bit. We don't want to break it off. And then we'll do 1, 2, 3. Always like to pinch it in there as well as I can. We'll snip that off. And then we'll give it a good whip finish here. As usual, I'm going to put some super glue on it so we can glue it up. I mean, you got the resin out, I could do that, but I don't want to get it in there and make too much of a mess. So that's all we need there. All right. Now, little trick is sometimes when you got the glue on there, you can just wrap it a couple times like that, and that just gets the glue like onto the thread and onto the neck there. So sometimes I do that. So now I'm gonna wrap in there with that other glob right there. So now I see it's all in there. Let's do 2, 3. I'm really into a lot of whip finishes because I hate when these flies don't fall apart on me, but I just hate when flies fall apart in general. 1, 2. Hey, we'll do 3. What the heck? It's black. It's all, you can't see it. All right, good. And that is it. That's how I make my. That's how I make a lot of my leeches. That's definitely like the black version there that I make. You can see the inside of the body in there, how that all glows, and it's going to be swimming like this. So it's actually going to look more like this right here. But you'll see this kind of comes up like this and covers it all in the water. I just think it looks better and hides the hook from the fish and everything. And then they see the red or they don't, you know, and that's it. So good luck, and yeah, this is a great fly. Definitely one of the most popular flies I think that people tie, or that have showed me to tie, and it just works really, really good. So, and something just happened to my vise that I do not know what happened to, and yeah, so whatever. But that's what it looks like there. Maybe I can hold it for you guys for a second there. Give it one last final look. There you go. All right, good luck.